Hey, so we got through all the ETF stocks that we've been monitoring, and so now I want to shift to a different category. We're going to be in the hype stock type uh, stock picks that we've made. So there's about 12 of these, I believe. We're just going to focus on these three right here. Not really a specific order. I listed them by their current price, and so they're just trending downwards. And then we can see Palantir. We decided to add that one. We've heard other YouTubers mention it quite a lot, so I figured we could list that with the hype stock while trying to keep some diversity. But as we're looking at it, there's definitely a good amount of technology type based, and I that just kind of seems to be the trend. They seem to have the most growth, but hopefully we can diversify over time just a little bit more. So again, we're just going to focus on these three. So we have Bitcoin, Enphase, and Flutter, which the ticker symbol for that one is there, PDYPF. And that one's on there because it includes FanDuel. FanDuel is one of these gambling type apps that seems to have a decent amount of exposure so far. So I think it's worth taking a chance and at least following it. I don't think I've actually added any of that one specifically. And again, that's just because, as we'll see when we get into the technical analysis, which is going to be the whole purpose of this video, is just to do technical analysis of these three stocks. Once we go through the full cycle of all our stocks that we follow, then we'll be able to loop back and begin going back into news items, looking at financial statements, and really kind of build out a better picture of what we see these stocks doing near term, long term, overall just having more knowledge of the company. But again, just to get our bases, we're just going to briefly go through the technicals for each of these three. Starting with Bitcoin, you can see the last time we checked, the date right here in column K was 4/13. So about a month and a half ago, it was at 30,300 at that point. We marked a buy at about 24,200 and resistance at about 31,800. Also noting that it's in a slight uptrend, but it's outside of our upper range currently, so it's a little bit higher than we would have liked. But let's take a look now and see where we're at. So just sort of like the notes wrote, there was this slight uptrend. That still seems to be intact. Yes, we kind of peaked above a little bit, but it pulled right back into that range. What's nice about this is it's actually consolidating. So it's maintaining that same value roughly within probably uh, about $200 to $300 range, but it's going flat. Which if we extend this one out just a little bit, trying to keep it parallel as best we can, and we could even bring that one in a little bit. Um, so that brings us. Let's go all the way out till the end of September if we can. So let me just bring that out to the end of September. So right about there, and we'll pull it back just a little bit. Um, so right about here, that takes us into the first week of October. This right here was the range that we projected way back then, so about a month and a half, of what we thought we could see at the end of the year. So quite a big range. We'll kind of narrow in on that over time, but let's kind of continue with this. So I want to extend this also to that same point. And again, that's just assuming that uptrend stays intact. We also have our horizontal lines. Hopefully this is pretty clear for whatever you're watching this on. But we have this buy point marked out. I still kind of like that one. It kind of acts as more resistance, I would say. If anything, I think a better buy point. I think that's why I put two buy points in here. It acted as support a little bit back here during May of 22, and right now it's kind of hovering around that point. So overall, it's below what we put as a fair value range, which for us was about 31,000 to 45,000. We're definitely below that at 27. I think this one potentially could pull back to maybe at 24,000. That's possible. But the reason why I at least like this price today is because number one, it's below our bottom fair value line, which again was about 31,800. And if we look at this trend line, it's near the bottom of it. So if anything, if this one, like hypothetically, maybe it'd be best if I drew in a range for the end of the second quarter. Assuming this trend continues, then we're going to be looking at this type of range right in this box. And let me make this gray just so we can stay with the patterns with the other stocks that we follow. So right here you can see it's below that mark, so we have all this potential room to grow just in a month. So we could potentially see this one climb all the way up to like 33, 34,000 just in the end of the month. It's possible. I mean, we've seen big increases and decreases in this, but again, I like it because number one, it's near a buy point. I'm not sure if we'll get that low again. So at this point, we're looking at the uptrend. The uptrend, we're at the bottom of that channel. So again, very close to the bottom. So that's a positive. And we're still way below that blue fair value point. And then the cherry on top, I suppose, is if we're just projecting this out till the end of the month, based on kind of the pattern we're seeing, there's a chance that this one's going to come, if we were to just say it lands in the middle, it's going to be around 31,000. And right now at 27, just again, rough estimates here, 4 divided by 27, that's like a 14-15% return just on a move up to here, which is very possible. It might run out of steam there for a little bit. Just if I'm, oops, I didn't mean to move that. That was about here-ish, maybe a little bit up higher, about 27,000. If we just zoom out, there's not too much like support. I guess this range right in here between about 36 and 31, there are a decent amount of candles there. I think if we can push above that, there's a good chance then we'll kind of hang out in the 39 to about 42,000 range. You know, this one seems to go in steps, and so it's kind of nice to see it kind of to consolidate here. It's showing that there is some support / resistance right in this range, and overall I actually do like this one. Chances are I'll add to this one again, depending on, you know, the money situation. For me, you know, just to kind of increase my exposure, I might do say $100. But let me know what your thoughts are, where your buy point is, if you think this is a fair deal or whatever. I'd be happy to read that. And of course, if you have any news, because obviously I'm not doing news at this point, so if there's something that you think's come up over the past month and a half, by all means share that too. That'd be very helpful. But just to update this, our tracker here, and I'll share it at the end. So currently it's at 27,000. It's constantly moving. So what I'm gonna do is I'll just round it, I guess, to say 27,200. Our buy points that we marked out was today it'd be about 26.5, and then let's see, 26,500, and then of course the green line that we marked out at about 24,500. So let's just add that in. In terms of resistance, like in the near term, this one, well, I guess I would say I'll put in this line just for reference sake. Maybe around like here, just again, just kind of doing an eye test here just to see what kind of makes sense. I would say about 35,000. Again, it could stall out very soon, around 30,000. That's definitely on the table. And so the reason I'm saying 30,000 is because we had it seemed to act as resistance back here in about May, June of 22. Then most recently, it stalled out there in April of just 2 months ago. And here we are now. However, that uptrend's still intact. We'll kind of see how it plays out. I think for now, resistance, yeah, I could see, we put 31,879, which is that dark blue line. I think what we're going to do is we're actually going to pull this down to about here. And that's going to be our first like test of resistance at about 30,800. And then if I were to put the second possible like worry point or resistance point right around here at about 35. So lots of potential here. Of course, things can change very quickly, but about 35,200. And so again, just for our purposes, the resistance point is this blue line right here at 30,800 roughly, and then up here at 35,200. And yeah, potential to grow come end of second quarter, which is technically the end of the month. If I were to guess where this one's going to be at the end of the third quarter, so a full 3 months out, I guess let's just start off by looking at this trend. We'll start off there. Let's pull this up. So that's one potential spot, assuming the uptrend stays intact. But I'm actually going to pull this one back. I think it might struggle right in this range. So what I'm going to do is just pull this back. If I can grab it. Let's see. Oh, there it goes. Hold up, hold up. Where's... Okay, I didn't mean to do that, but I think it might be a little bit lower. I mean, it's still pretty much spot on. Let me zoom back out. You know, I'm going to pull this back. I think it's more likely to be on the bottom half, but still, a big improvement. I mean, now we're talking like 33% to get to this point in a very short period of time. I think that's doable. Once we check back in, I think we're going to see this pull up. And in fact, I'm willing to do that right now. I'll pull it up to here at this point. I don't think it's going to pull back lower. I might raise it just a little bit just to be nice, I guess. But that actually gives us the next 3 quarters. This is Q2, Q3, and then this would be Q4. Still a very big window for the end of the year. Of course, this will update over time. One thing I want to share before I move on is Bitcoin's always trading. I'm not sure what platform anyone uses, but I know Webull will allow you to trade Bitcoin. So I'm going to share a link to Webull. If you don't have an account, you could open one. You'd get something like 10 or 12 free shares of stock for opening an account and depositing. It goes into detail on the website, but you can use that link below. But just to quickly wrap up Bitcoin, so currently it's at 27,200. We have our buy points here. The first one being 26,500. So very close. To me, I think it's close enough for me to just build upon the position because, again, I don't have that big of a position, so I want to kind of build this out to some degree. Maybe like 1 to 5% of my portfolio, and right now it's probably less than 1%. So I'm happy to start building this up now. Resistance, again, the next resistance point would be about 30,800. So that's pretty far down the road, and that 3,000 gap, that jump up, I think we said that was about 13 to 15% improvement. So I'm happy for that. We'll update the date. That slight uptrend, that is still on track. And then we can just update this and say at the bottom. At the bottom, of our trend range. So let's just move on to Enphase. So for Enphase, as we can see, whenever we saw this one around mid-April, it was trading at 208. We had buy points marked at 148, 191, and resistance at 307. And then our note shows it was in a slight downtrend. Going forward, per the report from Allied Market Research, the global battery storage market is expected to witness continual average growth rate of 20% over the next 10 years. So high growth, and another reason why we targeted this one. So if we pull up Enphase here, it looks like we did the same. We started kind of preparing a projection for year end, but focusing on this here. So number one, I can see we've kind of broken out of that downtrend. That said, they've done this before and then immediately pulled back within 2-3 weeks. So we could see another instance of that and continue downwards. We could say this is about 2 weeks. So maybe another 2 weeks, it might continue. We might see a pullback into that downtrend. So, nothing to get too excited here. But just to kind of start over here, it was at 208. And if we zoom in, that would have been right about here. So 208. That's the top of this green. We'll zoom in a little bit. So 208, right around here. That's when we checked in. And since then, it's pulled back. But really, if you take out this, it kind of's been flat. So I'm not sure what happened here at the end of April. We'll look into that next time we circle back, of course, depending on timing. But yeah, overall, clearly it's going down, but kind of flat. I don't know. But currently, so it's at 181. We had a buy point at 191, or that's like the first number that we were looking at, okay, this is starting to get like a good deal. Again, this is another stock that I see the potential in it. I don't think I have any, possibly 1 or 2 shares. So at this level, I know it's not at the ideal spot, but because this is one of those stocks that I just kind of want to get in as early as I can, I'm probably also going to buy this one. Not much again, maybe 1 share, and that'll be good enough for me. And over time, maybe we'll build on that. As far as a buy point, the ultimate buy point would be, let's zoom out a little bit. Again, it'd be that like 148, and that's just pulled from roughly this bottom back in 22. We'll zoom out a little bit further. Yeah, it seems like there's decent support at about 148. So I'm gonna keep that line there. In terms of another buy point, like this seems like it's kind of resistance actually, about 191. So I think I'm gonna add, be careful of like resistance at 191, because we're seeing a lot of consolidation there. It's hit its head there. We'll give that a half point, but 1, 2, just a lot of activity happens at 191. It acts as resistance for a little bit, but also support. So I think what could happen is if we see this one pass 191, like in the 200s, I think it might stay up there the next time. It went above, stayed below for a couple rounds, went way above, hung out there. I feel like that's a pivotal point on if it's going to get pushed back down or stay above. Right now it's below, so I think that's a decent time to gather stocks, is right here between about 191 and 148. Obviously, the closer to 148, that is best. So what I'm going to do is, I guess what we'll do, if I were to split this, Uh, so what I've done with others, and I think I did it for Bitcoin, is like I'll add a couple fair value points. And so for this, if I were to put one in again, maybe around here, there seems to be a lot of like peaks and also like valleys that center around 167 for whatever reason. So let's make that a little bit bigger. Let's change the color to match. Oh, what? That's weird. Okay, we're gonna update it to a darker blue. I think that's more, you can see it better, I think. So right here, I think the ultimate zone would be like 167 to 148. So we're gonna change that just a little bit. So we had buy points at 148. That's gonna stick, but we're gonna change 191 to 167. That would be the ideal. So let's actually make this. I guess blue still is. Now we'll make that green because that's more of a buy type, right in that range. And so right here we're definitely below fair value. It's just, yeah, it would have been nice if we caught this one, say like 2 weeks ago, uh, right below 167. But you know, you can't time it all the time. Going back to resistance, we said 191. I think that could act as resistance. I think we also have a decent amount here. I'm going to pull this down just a tiny bit just to gather those. So like 219 and then ultimately 307. I mean, if it got that high, there must have either been very good news or it's peaking for no reason and you might want to take profits at that point. So we are going to change this just a little bit. Sticking with that downtrend, I guess we'll pivot into our where do I see this one by the end of the month, aka the end of the second quarter. So that would be right here. We'll zoom this out. We'll make it like gray. This one, I would imagine it's going to be. Why isn't it letting me do this? Come on. There we go. Probably in this range is still active in my mind. The fact that it's this high with only like I guess like 4 weeks left, we'll see. If I kind of accelerate this to the end of that second quarter while trying to keep it parallel, I just don't think it's going to go this low, but that is roughly parallel. So it could potentially come down here. I don't think so. I think that's when we'll see it start to consolidate sideways. So if it dips back into this range, we might hang out there till the end of the month. As far as the third quarter, again, this one's kind of tricky because we might just see it consolidate there for a little while, which it's possible. It consolidates there for a month once, maybe about another month. Here's another month. So it's likely to hang out there. So if I were to just draw in my third quarter where I think it could be, I kind of think it's likely it would stay in the same range. I mean, obviously, there's potential it could peak out into that fair value range that we have between 191 and 219. I think this is probably safer at this point, but we could definitely see this one go higher than that, just shift it up a little bit. So that's kind of how I'm seeing it. Again, let me know what your thoughts are. I think overall, if I were to rate this one, it's kind of rough for me personally. I think, man, I think I should wait. But it's below the fair value. So you know what? I'll give it a buy. Let me know what your thoughts are on this. If you would be willing to hold out further. I'm willing to jump the gun on this because I want to add exposure to this one for me personally. Again, not much, probably just one share. And then hopefully if it pulls back to like 167, yes, then I'll actually make sure I have funds to add in additional share as opposed to um, picking something else, you know? But I do think just kind of looking forward, I think we're going to have opportunities in the future. Again, time will tell. Based off what I'm seeing here, also, I'm going to drag this down. Um, I might even extend it a little more. I think it's possible we could be like this type. I'm going to pull it back a lot. I think we might, I think it's more likely we'll be in this type of range come year end. Um, More like up here, which again is growth compared to where it is. Because again, the peak could be like 216. We're only at 181. So what would that be? 216 minus 181 divided by 181. So like 20%, I guess 19 really. 19% is on the table between now and year end. I think that's pretty good, you know? So just to quickly update this, which we pretty much did, I'll just change the date to today. So I'm going to give this one a pass. I'm going to give it a buy. I think it's definitely fair to want to wait on this. It all depends on, you know, how you are set up currently. If you want to add more, if you already built out a decent position, maybe you don't, and you're willing to wait for these buy points that we picked. Between 148 and 167, I would say 167 or less, that is the time to build this out. Once you get closer to like 191 to 219, I kind of think you might be overextending yourself right now. But overall, it's still, I would say that downtrend's still kind of intact. If I see another week or two, and it's clearly going sideways, then that's over. But for now, we'll keep this note the same, and we'll just move on to the next one. So the final one I want to touch on is ticker symbol PDYPF. This one, again, this one might be an over-the-counter type stock. If you're not familiar with those, it just means you have to pay, I think, like a broker fee, something very small, maybe like $1 or something per transaction. And not all brokerage accounts allow it. I'm pretty sure Webull does. I think E-Trade also does. So what I'll do is, again, I'm already doing it for Bitcoin, but again, I'll share the Webull account link if you don't have an account with them. And I'm pretty sure you can buy this ticker symbol over the counter. Again, the ticker symbol PDYPF, and that is FanDuel, but it's Flutter Entertainment, which owns FanDuel. So last time we looked, let's look at the tracker again. So last time we looked, again, about a month and a half ago, there was a strong uptrend for the past 9 months. That seems to still be intact. It was trading at 190. We had buy points marked at 166 and 175, and we thought there'd be resistance at about 214. So let's take a look where we're at. So let's zoom in. And again, it looks like we kind of projected where it could be at year end. That one seems to be looking good. But let's see. So 414, that was right around here. So about 189. It's clearly gone up about $10. The theme definitely is going up. We can see a big candle down, which kind of pulls us back into this uptrend channel. And again, it's, you know, you could update this, make it a little wider of a range, but I feel like that captures most of the peaks of this one and most of the lows, while of course it's still gone above and beyond, pulled back, and also it's dipped below, but rose back up. And so I feel like that's a fair trend line. I'm going to keep it intact for now until it breaks. So what we'll do, I guess for now, it's funny how close that seems. For some reason, it just seems very close compared to the other stocks. But let's just drag this out. We'll drag it out to, I guess, as far as we can based on our screen. Just trying to keep it where it was before. So right around here. So that takes us out to the end of October, and I'll try to keep this as parallel as possible. Again, that takes us to the end of October. Let's drag it down just a little bit. That seems pretty parallel. So if this trend stays intact, and we'll zoom in, for the end of the month, very possible. I am very anxious to look at the news on this one because, yeah, I don't know why it would be popping off the way it is, but this seems to be very possible for this one. Just it'll continue. I think it might consolidate sideways for the next about 4 weeks. So I think this is very possible. Again, I don't like this one. I can already tell it seems to be going too fast, too soon. Again, haven't looked at the financials, so maybe this is well deserved. But again, just based on technical analysis, it looks like it's peaking. It's peaking way too quick, so I'm not interested without looking deeper into it. If I were to buy this one, the first point of interest would be about 185 at this point. So I will update this to show 185. We had it much lower. I think we had it at about, if we go back to 414, we had it about 169 and then I think 158. So we had it at this intersection here and also this blue line here. I'm not sure if we're going to see this green line anytime soon. That green line seems to be fairly supportive. If I was looking for more support, I could argue 147. So I think what we'll do is we'll drag this down a little bit. 147. Let's see. I feel like I put this one in at 186 because I noticed there's definitely some support here and slight resistance. And then we have some peaks up here. I'm not sure what to make of that. I'm sure I could do if I took a little more time to assess it. Let me know what your thoughts are. Where would you say the fair value range is? I'm just trying to find a good support / resistance. I'm comfortable with this. I think we're gonna run into trouble at about 214, which so far that's been the same. Is there another hurdle that it struggles against? Maybe here, right around where it is today. I could argue that. We'll put in a thin blue line just as a idea holder. So we'll make that blue, but we'll make it half strength. But just so we're aware that that's a point of interest for us. And again, it's just because it seems to peak out there a little bit. I don't know. I could pull it back even a little bit further. Right around 198, 200. This bar, I would potentially pull that back some. I'd probably pull it back. Either way, I mean, this one seems very high value. Yeah, I would say if I had to wait on this, 186. Okay, so 186 is keeping the uptrend in mind. But ideally, I would say 170. 170, 144. I guess just to keep it simple and just have two potential buy points. 186 if you think this one's going to continue to run just like that purple uptrend is showing for the next couple quarters. If you're of that belief, then yeah, by all means, 185 is a good spot because it'd be the bottom of the trend line, and as long as it continues upward, we'll be good. Alternatively, if you're not that positive about this one, such as myself, the first time I would consider it would be 170. If this pulled back to 170, I think we have some kind of support, not too much in all honesty. Ideally, 144 would be like a better spot. So I'm going to mark the high point, 170. Um, ugh, I just don't like this. I personally don't like this spot. We'll continue to follow it, see if we can find a good spot for us. But yeah, I just don't like it. In terms of resistance, we'll say 214. We'll keep it at that red line. We're kind of on track for it. It looks like we kind of got rejected at about 207. And maybe we're going to start heading down. We'll see. I think it's fair to keep this one here. Just kind of based on not much, in all honesty. I would say end of third quarter, I think we're going to pull back. And I think we're going to come back to like this type of range, somewhere in here. And that's when we'll hopefully kind of collect on this. But time will tell. I think we might just do a little dip, sort of like we've done here. If we zoom in, back in like 2021, we might just pull back and then come back up come year end. We'll see. Let me just do some. I just want to make this a little bit neater. Whoops. Pull it in just a little bit so it's not this massive box. But that pretty much wraps this up. So let me see. Anything else I need to change here? I think we're all set. So here we have Flutter, aka PDYPF, right here. So currently it's at 190. We have buy points marked at 170. If you really like this one, you think that uptrend is going to continue, 185 would be a good spot today. Resistance at 214. We'll see how this plays out. That strong uptrend, though, for the past 9 months. We'll see if that continues. But that wraps this up. So please like, subscribe. If you have any questions, let me know. If you want to add something in terms of news, by all means, let me know too. I'd be happy to read that. So again, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.